Good evening and welcome to ITV News. This is Friday night's calendar.
Yes, hello, good evening. Here are tonight's main stories.
Hello, my friend, hello.
Songs of Hope, tributes to the NHS fundraiser who's continuing to help others even after his own violent death.
Just amazing, isn't it? It's nice to know that he's still doing good. Hopefully we've done him proud.
Also tonight, remembering Flixborough 50 years on. Memories of the chemical plant disaster which claimed 28 lives and injured hundreds more.
I ran downstairs, the front door had been blown off, and I came out to see the metal flying up into the air and a huge black cloud billowing up into the sky.
Unbelievable. That is, I've been coming to Leeds for nearly 20 years now, and that was probably the best atmosphere and the best performance I've ever seen.
Marching on to Wembley on a raucous Elland Road night, Leeds clip the Canaries' wings and take a big stride towards the Premier League.
And if you're looking forward to a dry, warm and sunny weekend, I might just have the forecast for you a little later on.
First tonight to the charity fundraiser and lifelong football fan whose families say he's still helping others even after his death. Rob Hisco died after an attack in a pub in Leeds over the bank holiday weekend.
The 38-year-old spent lockdown entertaining those in nearby streets with renditions of their song requests, raising more than £16,000 for the NHS.
Last night, his beloved Leeds United honoured him with a minute's applause on the day his wife Christina and their two daughters found out his donated organs had helped save 5 lives. This report from Helen Steele.
Hello, my friend, hello. It feels good that you need me so.
Hundreds of people relied on Rob Hisco to get them through lockdown. In life, he raised £16,000 for the NHS by singing from home to his neighbours. And after his death, his organs gave 5 people their lives back.
So, yeah, heart, kidney, liver and pancreas.
So he saved 5 lives. How do you feel about that?
Just amazing, isn't it? It's nice to know that he's still doing good.
What do you think he would have made of it?
I don't know, I just think he'd be just proud of himself, overwhelmed with it all. I know that's what he'd have done, so hopefully we've done him proud.
Rob was attacked at a pub in Leeds over the bank holiday weekend. The shock felt so deeply that the whole community turned out to thank Rob, as they used to thank the NHS. A lifelong Leeds fan at their playoff semi-final win yesterday, fellow fans also paid tribute, watched on by his wife Christina and their 2 daughters. And an online fundraiser for them has now reached £25,000.
Just thank you. Can't even put it into words, if I'm honest. I kept having a go at him because he never took us to a game. Oh, I'll get you a ticket next time. I'd always take my brother or one of his friends. And I think he'll be looking down now, thinking, damn, you're getting the best game.
Loving is all that I want.
His family says Rob was a hero in life.
It isn't too hard to see. We're in heaven.
And he continues to be one now.
Yeah, big shout out to the Leeds United security lads. We are Leeds.
Helen Steele, ITV News in Leeds.
Remembering Rob Hisco. Well, next tonight, 2 memories of one of the biggest industrial disasters in living memory, which claimed the lives of 28 men and left hundreds more injured.
Almost 5 decades ago, a petrochemicals plant at Flixborough near Scunthorpe exploded following a gas leak. The blast and resulting fire was so huge It forced the evacuation of local villages, sending 3,000 people fleeing their homes.
Now, as we approach the 50th anniversary, the stories of those involved have been collected for a special exhibition marking the serious loss of life. Michael Billington reports.
The tranquility of an early summer's day shattered in an instant. In Britain's worst peacetime explosion.
1st of June 1974. I'd been just down in my garden here, and you could not have anticipated in any way the scale of what happened and the consequences.
The events of that day remain etched on the memory of Andrew Green. Just 11 at the time, he escaped remarkably unscathed.
I ran downstairs, the front door had been blown off, and I came out to see the metal flying up into the air and a huge black cloud billowing up into the sky. And yeah, very, very vivid memory.
A series of blasts had torn through the Nipro chemicals plant in Flixborough. 28 men were killed, hundreds of people were injured. Fires raged over the 20-acre site for more than a week.
When you look back at the news footage, the video footage, you know, it's just incredible, you know, the intensity and scale of the fire afterwards. This was a Scunthorpe paper on the Monday following.
Now Andrew's unearthed an extraordinary archive, photographs and newspaper cuttings saved by his parents in the aftermath of the disaster.
You can see the colossal scale of the explosion, the damage, the injuries caused, you know, the flying glass and all that sort of thing. You know, and by that stage, you know, it was becoming clear the number of people that died.
Today, in the churchyard in Flixborough village, a memorial bears the names of those who died. 50 years on, personal memories from that day have been gathered together in an exhibition, memories of those who lost loved ones and of those further afield. The blast heard and felt as far away as West and South Yorkshire.
You can really imagine how it would have been for them. So when one lady wrote in about how her brother passed away that day and it took them 4 days to find him, but all that time they still had a little bit of hope even though they knew it was very unlikely. And when you read that, yeah, definitely goosebumps.
The Flixborough disaster may now be half a century ago, but the impact of what happened is still felt here to this day.
5 decades have passed. Just how vivid is your memory of what happened that day?
To be honest, it's like, you know, fresh in my memory and, you know, huge loss of life and masses of families affected. So extremely poignant memories. You know, 50 years is a very significant moment in time.
Incredible story, and imagine, Laura, working in the newsroom on the day that story came through. Absolutely incredible.
Imagine seeing it as a little boy like he did.
Terrible, yeah, absolutely awful. Now then, let's move on, and still to come on Friday's calendar, Wembley-bound Leeds United are back to their best as they march into the Championship playoff final with an emphatic 4-0 drubbing of Norwich.
And coastal mist and fog on and off the coastline during the course of today. But for many of us, we saw some decent sunny spells and decent temperatures. And do you know what? It's a decent weekend ahead too. All the detail a little later on.
Some more news from around the region now. And 2 women from Sheffield have been found guilty of murdering their neighbour after falsely accusing him of being a paedophile. 60-year-old Stephen Kozikzarski was subjected to mental and physical torture at his home on Fraser Drive in Woodseats in August. Stephen, who had a mild learning difficulty, died in hospital 2 days later. Nicola Lethbridge, who's 45, and Zoe Ryder, who's 36, were both found guilty of murder and robbery. They'll be sentenced in June.
Organisers have been forced to cancel the Chatsworth horse trials less than 24 hours before it was due to start. That's because of heavy rain. The international equestrian event usually takes place in the grounds of the Derbyshire Stately Home and was due to start this morning. The organisers say safety is the #1 priority and that all ticket holders will be contacted for a refund. Over the course of our lives, around a third of us can expect to be called to do jury service, and that may involve listening to harrowing details of violent crimes.
Leeds Crown Court is part of a new pilot scheme offering jurors help to cope with the psychological impact, giving them access to 6 counselling sessions and a 24/7 helpline.
Well, mental health experts have welcomed the move, saying that for too long they've suffered in silence. Nick Smith can tell us more.
Would the foreman please stand?
Jury service is often glamorised in moody courtroom dramas.
Have you reached a unanimous verdict?
But in real life, we seldom hear about what it's like to serve this civic duty. And to make an informed judgment on a defendant's guilt, jurors are sometimes exposed to traumatic evidence and testimony. Julia Pegg is a lead therapist at Sheffield Mind and says the experience can isolate those involved and trigger deeper emotions.
They may have some trauma of their own which they've not processed or they've not been able to get mental health support for. Then to be going on to jury duty and being a part of conversations around really graphic, violent injuries, deaths, these sorts of things, it can be what we call triggering, which means that it will impact on their previous trauma and almost re-traumatise them.
Jo Ahern was a juror on a murder trial last March, sitting through weeks of evidence involving injury detail and extreme violence.
As part of the jury, you're required to look at a lot of images, not just a couple of photographs, but a binder full of images of the most horrendous wounds, and so it's pretty harrowing. It's been a year now since I was on that case, and every time I talk about it I still get upset and I get angry, and the reason why I get angry is because there is really no preparation for what you are letting yourself in for. You pretty much just walk into a propeller without any support.
Up until now, jurors in England and Wales were simply recommended to speak to their GP or Samaritans if they were struggling.
The research literature shows us that up to 50% of jurors experience signs of distress and possible post-traumatic stress disorder following jury duty. And that can manifest in changes to their behaviour, sleep disturbances, flashbacks that can last for some people a few days or a few weeks, but for others it can be a long-term, really significant change to their life.
Now the toll it takes is finally being recognised through bespoke support, which could eventually be available for every juror should they need to seek it. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Well, earlier I spoke to our reporter Nick Smith from Westminster as the government looks to launch this pilot scheme in just a few weeks' time. I started by asking him how the support is going to be implemented.
Well, it will start by being trialled at 15 courts, including Leeds Crown Court, in a pilot scheme. And it will involve 6 free counselling sessions along with a 24/7 advice line and some extra information and guidance for jurors that will be taking part. And it comes after a number of House of Lords debates highlighting the need to learn from similar services which we've seen in Scotland, Australia and Canada. Viewers in our region will remember the harrowing case of the murder of the former Batley and Spen MP Joe Cox in 2016, and how jurors had to spend several weeks listening to graphic details of the injuries inflicted and the circumstances surrounding her death. It's those types of cases which are being recommended for such support.
Absolutely. And why are many in the legal profession and organisations like the British Psychological Society saying that it is so important?
Well, jurors that took part in studies on the impact of such cases said for the most part they just didn't have enough closure. After the verdicts, they were quickly escorted away from court. Some might return again for the sentencing. But really, there's no chance to debrief or discuss what happened once everything's done and dusted. They said it was hard to switch back to their normal lives, and certain details or experiences stayed with them, even manifesting as a form of PTSD. Well, the government has accepted they now need to go beyond just GP referrals or advice to call mental health crisis lines after trials. The Justice Minister, Mike Freer, said this pilot is an important step in assessing how we can best support jurors who perform such a vital civic duty, often in complex and high-profile cases. And this pilot is due to start later on this summer.
Very interesting. Thank you very much, Nick. Well, it's time for some sport now, and Arif joins us in the studio. Good evening. What an atmosphere it was last night inside.
Let me tell you, Lara, it was incredible.
Were you there?
I was there, yeah, we were there, and let me tell you, the noise before, during and after it was deafening. It was unbelievable, and it's really special to see the fans waving these scarves around. They were given free before the game, and let me tell you, it made for a real intimidating atmosphere.
Yeah, and it must have worked actually, Arif, mustn't it? Because Leeds made light work of the second leg, didn't
it really did work, yeah. As you say, Leeds thrashed Norwich 4-0 to make it into the playoff final. And that defeat cost the Norwich manager, David Wagner, his job today. Not a happy evening for him, but the majority of the 36,000 fans that were inside Ellen Road, it was a night they won't forget in a hurry.
It is all white on the night, and they will march on together to Wembley.
Rampant, ruthless, relentless. Leeds United were back to their brilliant best last night as they thrashed Norwich 4-0 as they booked their place in the Championship playoff final in emphatic style.
All worth the travel from the northeast. Been Leeds for years and years.
Have you?
Fantastic.
Yeah, man.
And we're going to Wembley. Wembley.
Oh, it was just amazing. I said 3-0, but it was actually 4, so I'm absolutely made up.
Oh, unbelievable. I've been coming to Leeds for nearly 20 years now, and that was probably the best atmosphere and the best performance I've ever seen.
Dominant in possession, were so creative in order to create also many clear-cut chances, scored 4 goals, should have scored many more if I'm really honest.
The morning after the night before, former Leeds player and manager Simon Grayson says he saw one of the most complete performances from the Whites this season.
Right from the first whistle, they were on the front foot, they were winning the second balls, the challenges, and they were playing with a bit of confidence, bordering on a bit of arrogance at times, but it was an incredible performance. And when you needed the front four to perform, they were a constant threat, and Norwich just couldn't live with Leeds.
How big a part do you think the crowd played? Because the atmosphere inside Ellen Road was just unbelievable.
15 minutes prior to the kick-off, all the scarves were flying around and the music was loud and getting everybody going, and the team responded to that, and that's what can happen sometimes. What an incredible night for everybody connected with Leeds.
After the game, Leeds United captain Liam Cooper made clear to the team in a huddle the job wasn't done yet. The fans, though, are already dreaming of Wembley.
Absolutely brilliant. Can't wait to Wembley now. I come back from Spain 3 hours before we set off to Wembley, but we're going there.
He's getting married on the final. On the final day, it's his wedding.
In all fairness, I thought it was automatic promotion, but I had that much confidence.
So what are you going to do? Wedding? Are you going to be able to watch the game?
Sorry to the missus and the family. I've got a doppelganger. I'll be at Wembley.
We have a great chance also to write another chapter of history in this amazing club. But before, we have to make sure that we deliver a good performance, and my eyes are already from now on this game.
There's some amazing scenes there. So next weekend, of course, is the big weekend.
It is.
So who will Leeds be playing?
Well, that's still to be decided. Ian, that'll be decided tonight. It'll either be Southampton or West Brom. They play tonight, so we will find out by around 10 o'clock. But today we found out where Leeds will be sitting in Wembley. They'll be taking the East Stand, and they've been allocated just over 35,500 tickets. Well, Leeds will need to wait just over a week to play at Wembley, but one team from our region, Blake Hill Primary School, well, they'll be playing on the hallowed turf this weekend. They've reached the final of the Utility Kids Cup, and they will grace the famous turf ahead of the League 2 playoff final on Sunday. This week, the whole school came out to cheer on their heroes, who've beaten off competition from around 700 other schools to reach the final.
It's just a dream come true. It couldn't happen to a nicer set of boys. They're a great set of lads, both on the pitch and off the pitch. But it'll reward all of the hard work, all of the determination, perseverance. It'll be wonderful.
I think we could win it, but we might take it. I think if we play at our best like we normally do, we'll be able to get further than any other team, and we're going to be better than everyone in any other team.
So you're going to win?
Yeah!
And in Rugby League, the Huddersfield Giants are hoping to book their own place at Wembley for next month's Challenge Cup final. Head coach Ian Watson will hope his team can turn around their recent poor form around against Warrington on Sunday. The Giants are looking to make it into the second cup final in just 3 years. And good luck to York Valkyrie and the Leeds Rhinos women's team, who are also hoping to make it to Wembley in the Women's Challenge Cup final. Bit of a Wembley theme in the sport today. I'm not sure if you noticed.
I hadn't noticed. No. Thanks, Harry.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Finally tonight, to the former serviceman who waited more than 70 years for his work during atomic bomb trials to be recognised.
John Ward was one of thousands of veterans sent to the South Pacific in the 1950s, where they were exposed to dangerous radiation.
His recognition finally came last year when the government sent him a medal in the post, but it felt like an afterthought. So today, his daughter put on a very special ceremony that befits a hero. Jonathan Brown reports.
Almost 7 decades of waiting for royal recognition finally at an end. John Ward applauded by fellow veterans and loved ones, enjoying his moment with the King's representative for Derbyshire.
Thank you for everything you've done.
He was one of more than 20,000 British service personnel sent to the South Pacific to witness Cold War weapons tests in the 1950s and 60s. But only last year did any of them receive military medals for doing so, though John's hopes of an invitation to the palace to get his went undelivered.
It was in a jiffy bag. I thought, oh, what's this? And I opened it, there was my medal. I thought, fancy being presented with a medal by a postman, you know. And I think that's wrong. I think we've been totally ignored. I was very surprised when someone said, we may be recognised. I'm thinking, really? Well, half of us are dead.
And look at the huge fireball. It's believed many of those who served suffered mentally and physically, while many died young after being exposed to radiation from which they were given very little protection.
You got your back to it, you got your hands over your eyes, and you could see the bones in your hand.
John was far from alone in getting his silverware by post. The government says it's a long-established process for commemorative medals. But relatives, including his daughter Denise, felt it took the shine off their achievements, so she organised a special ceremony in Chesterfield in a bid to give them royal approval.
At the end of the day, you know, they were doing the country a big service and they went through so much over there. My main intention for today was for Dad to go home a happy bunny, and I think I've done it.
We're not the King or the Queen, but we are their representative and we are presenting these medals on His Majesty's behalf, so I hope that means something.
Among those having a medal pinned proudly to their lapel was Shirley. Her husband Michael, like many other nuclear test veterans, died before the government agreed to hand them out 2 years ago.
Brings tears to my eyes to think at last we've got something, a little bit.
What do you think he'd think of today?
I was thinking he'd say about blooming time.
Is this worth the wait today?
Yes.
So while their honours may have been delayed by decades of inaction, people here say joining forces in this way was the least that could be done for service personnel who so proudly served their country. Jonathan Brown, ITV News, Chesterfield.
Wonderful.
Yeah, nice to see that recognition finally, isn't it? Now then, congratulations to John. Kerry is with us, and what a miserable week it's been weather-wise in terms of
We've
being
struggled.
dull.
We've struggled with you as pickies, and we've struggled with the cloud. It's looking much better at the weekend. There's just a bit of a question mark about that low cloud that I've been harping on about all week. And I do think it will come and go, so it won't just be cloudy along the coastline all times. And of course, the forecast coming up. Now, yesterday I showed you birds.
Yes. So what is it?
I promised bees. So I wanted to show you this. It's from the Bumblebee Conservation Charity. And these are the 8 bumblebees, not just bees, but bumblebees specifically, that you can see in the month of May. And because we're expecting a decent weekend, I thought maybe you might recognise some of them. I mean, some of them look very similar. I don't know what you think.
Some haven't got any legs.
I didn't realise you had different bumblebees. I thought you just had one.
So many as well, and this is just in 1 month. So I think we've got a tree and a garden bee and possibly a red-tailed bee. So let's take a look. I think this is a tree bee, a tree bumblebee on gauze. I think this one is a garden bee on, of course, the poppy that's coming out right now. Poppy season just coming through with the yellow and the red poppy season. We're just coming to the end of the bluebell season. I think this is a garden bee as well. And this is that red-tailed or red-tipped bumblebee on allium. I'll tell you what, this weekend's forecast is definitely weather for a big bee close-up. Here we go.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Yes, a warm weekend ahead for both Saturday and for Sunday, with temperatures into the 20s Celsius, and dare I say even better than today, where we did see some nice sunny spells and feeling very pleasant for May in the sunshine during the course of the afternoon. But we do have to watch out for that coastal sea fog coming inland a little bit on and off during the course of the next couple of days and nights. So today we saw increasing amounts of sunshine for the middle part of the day. As we head deeper into tonight, we do look out to the North Sea for that low cloud, and it's likely to come inland a little bit and perhaps produce 1 or 2 showers as we head through the night. Elsewhere, we start off dry and relatively clear, but under the clearer skies in vales and valleys, some low cloud and mist developing even inland as we head towards dawn. There is sometimes as we head into the weekend, 4:59 and 9:08. Misty and murky first thing tomorrow. Small chance of a shower being brought in along that flow off the North Sea, but for many of us, increasing amounts of blue sky and sunshine. It will feel a little fresher for the coastline, mid-teens here, but still decent for the time of year, but inland into the 20s, 20 or 21 Celsius in that light northerly breeze, and plenty of blue sky and sunshine. Again, the low cloud could be a little bit problematic as we head into Sunday and perhaps linger for a little longer as we head into the afternoon. But for most of us inland, it's not wall-to-wall sunshine, but plenty of blue expected on Sunday. Probably the best day of the weekend, but do take care. We have a high UV sunburn risk. It never really gets higher than 8. It's 7 on Sunday and stays 6 into Monday and Tuesday. Slightly higher risk of some showers, but still a lot of dry weather to come.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
Well, the grass pollen season doesn't really kick in until the beginning of June, end of May. In the meantime, there's little bits of it around. We're saying low, but also tiny bits of pine and oak tree pollen too. Take care. There you go, we'll be bee hunting this weekend because I'm after all your photos ahead of World Bee Day, which is officially on Monday.
Yeah, that's the buzzy bees.
The buzzy bees, definitely.
Yeah. Not the other type of bee day.
We'll be seeing you next week, I hope. Join us then. Good night. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.